Okay, we are on our Chapter 5 practice test, and it says exercise number 1. What is the ratio of circles to stars? Remember, whenever we do this, we just have to list the first thing first. And the first thing that they list here is circles. So we need to count circles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The ratio of circles to stars is 8 to, and let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 8 to 5. Okay, so when we're looking at ratios, we're looking for patterns. And if I look at the top pattern, it's 1, 2, what's going to be the next number? You guessed it, 3. Well, our ratio is 1 to 4. There's one car for every 4 trucks. So if there's 2 cars, there'll be 2 times 4 is going to be 8. And if you look at it this way, if I have my 12 and I divide it by 4, it would give me 3. So 1, 2, 3, or 3 times 4 equals 12. So number 1 would be 3 and number 2 would be 8. Exercise 3, remember a unit rate is 1, but a rate is how often is something occurring. So this is how many weeks and how many days does occur. So one possible rate is 1 week for every 7 days, 2 weeks for every 14 days, 3 weeks for every 21 days, 4 weeks for every 28 days. And this is about a month, or about 1 week, 7 days in 1 week. We're going to write 65% as a fraction. Remember, percent means of 100, so 65 of 100. And so 65 over 100. And we know that this is not reduced because we know that something goes into 5 that can also go into 10. So let's just do 5 first. 5 goes into 100 20 times. And now we're going to do the division to see how many times 5 goes into 65. 5 goes into 65 once, and that's going to give me 15. And so my answer is 13 over 20. There's nothing that I can do to reduce that, so I know that that's got to be my answer. Take the fraction to a percent, we do the exact opposite. So here we have 7 over 50, and what we want to do is multiply this back into 100. So 50 times 2 is going to give us 100, and 7 times 2 is going to give us 14. So now it's 14 out of 100, or 14%. 25% of 60 is what number? 25% of 60. Now remember, we're using our decimal point, so we'll have to take it back out later. So now we have 0, 6 times 5 is 30, 6 times 2 is 12, plus 3 is 15, and we move our decimal place over 2 times, and so it's 15. 25% of 60 is 15. Now this time recognize that they changed the order. 75% of what number is 54? They're not telling us what number they're taking 75% of, so we have to do the opposite of multiplication. And think of it like this. You're going to take that percentage and you're going to move it. Because now when you change your percentage into a decimal, it moves 2 places over here, so we have to move it 2 places to the right, which means we also have to move this 2 places to the right. Do not forget to put your decimal point in right from the start, because 54 was a whole number, so now we have to move our decimal over 2 places. So now we're going to do 75 into 5,400. It does not go into 5, it does not go in, it does not go into 4. 75 goes into 540. Well, think about this for a second. 75 is almost 100. So how many 75s or how many hundreds can you get out of 500? Well, there's a good 5, we know we can at least get 5. And since we still have some left over, I'm going to try for 7. So I'm going to do 7 times 5 is going to give me 35. And 7 times 5 is going to give me 49, 50, 51, 52. And then I've got 10, 4, 3, 5, and 150. And I know that 75 twice is going to give me 150. So my answer is going to give me 72. This is so easy, I'm not even going to go over it. There's 36 feet and you have to convert it to yards. Well, I know that there's 3 feet in each yard. So how many yards would there be? You're going to take your 36 and divide it by 3, and that'll give you your answer. 9 centimeters equals blank inches. I'm not even going there. I'm just going to show you the answer. Ready? Here it comes. A rate of 8 feet per second is equal to how many feet per minute? Well, we take our 8 feet and we multiply it, this is our multiplier, by our 60 seconds in a minute. So 8 times 60 is going to give me 480, and that's how many feet in a minute. And again, exercise 11, we've got enough to do without worrying about centimeters and meters and all of that. So we're just going to skip over this and we're just going to give you the answer. It's 144. You're welcome. This is real math, and this is definitely something you need to know. So it says milk for sugar. Every time you have 3 cups of milk, you need 2 cups of sugar. So 6 cups of milk, loop, 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 loop. Remember, this is a ratio. All you're looking for the pattern. How do they get from here to here? Well, 3 times what is going to give you 6? Then you have to do the same thing here. 2 times what is going to give you this? So if they're going from 3 to 6, blank, 12, what is the missing number here? Okay, and the same thing down here, 2, blank, 6. What did they miss here? So just fill in your blanks. You got this. This one is a little different. So this one we are going to spend a minute with. Okay. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to think of this as equivalent fractions. So how do we get from 78 to 6? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 78 and I'm going to divide it by 6. And when I do that, it comes up with 13. So now I have to take my 65 and divide it by 13. 65 divided by 13. And yes, you could spin your wheels doing this, but honestly, right now we have a use of a calculator, we're going to use it. So 65 divided by 13 is going to give us 5. So our answer right here is going to be 5. Now, how do I go from 5 to 10? What pattern is that? 5 times what will give me 10? Well, 2. So that means I have to do times 2 up here, which would give me 12. So now if I look at my pattern, this right here was divided by 13. Both these numbers are equivalent fractions, and then both of these numbers were multiplied by 2. So here was our base number, 6 over 5. There was no reduction of that, and we could just keep going. 6 times 3 would give us 18. 5 times 3 would give us 15. And it would just keep going with equivalent fractions. But our answer for this is 12 here and 5 here. And then our last question says there are blank roses that have 10 red roses. So when we look right here, our answer is 10. What is the number that goes right above this? And we already answered that. It's 12. If you were paying attention to this, we did this already in one of the other exercises. Which soup has more sodium? So you have 7 over 10 or 9 over 12. I want to make these both into equivalent fractions so I compare apples to apples. The only thing that both of these numbers are going to go into, the least common multiple, is going to be 60. So how do I get to 60? Well, 10 times 6 is going to give me 60, and 7 times 6 is going to give me 42. So now I can look at things apples to apples. This is going to be times 5, and this is going to be 45 over 60 and 42 over 60. So which one has more sodium? Let's look back. The sodium is the top number. So if we look at this as 42, this one has 45, so this one right here has more sodium. When you first look at this, I look at it and I go, how do I know? Well, this time right here is 10 seconds. Look here, they don't start at 10 over here, they started at 20. So let's compare apples to apples. Let's go to the 20. Here's 20, and this distance is 40 feet. Here's 20, the distance is only 10 feet. So which one goes further? Okay. This is one of those tape diagrams. You have got a friend, and you and your friend are collecting cans. So for every 4 cans that you collect, the friend collects 5. In total, you collect 180. It's so simple, just watch. So here we have our 4, here we have our 5. So I'm going to replace this with a 4 and replace this with 5. And when we add these two together, it comes out to 9. Okay, so when we take our 4 and our 5 together, it comes out with 9. Well, now what we want to do is how many times does 9 go into 180. But remember, we just always throw a 0 at the end of it. So just throw our 0 in. Okay. So we have our 9 here. Goes in once, twice. So 2 times or 20. So it's going to go in 20 times. Let me show you how you do that mathematically. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add our friends and ours up together, and it's going to equal 9. Now we're going to take our 9 and we're going to go into 180, and 9 goes into 180 20 times. Okay, so now there's our 180. Now remember, we did 20, this is per unit, we did 4. So 4 times 20 is going to give us 80. So we collected 80 of the cans, and our friend collected 5 times 20, which is going to give us 100, and that would be 100 plus 80 would give us our total. So we collected, for our can drive, we collected 80 cans. Again, I am not even doing centimeters. How much does it grow? It grows 3 centimeters in 10 days. Write it as a fraction, 3 over 10. Done. Okay, here's a unit rate. You buy 6 pounds of apples for $33. What is the cost of 10 pounds of apples? We're going to write this as a unit rate. So 6 goes into 33. 6 goes into 35 times. And then we have 30. And so this is going to be 5.5. So our answer is going to be 5.5. And then they want to know how many did we buy for 10 pounds? How much is it going to cost us? So remember, all we're going to do is when we're multiplying by 10, we just move our decimal, and it's going to be $55. We have a math class, and 14 out of 20 students pack their lunches. What percentage of students pack their lunches? So it could be written as 14 out of 20, or it could be written as 14 out of 20 this way. Now what we need to do is we need to get it to a percentage, so we need to find out how much is it of 100. How do we get from 20 to 100? Well, we multiply by 5, and then that means we have to do the same thing to the top number. 5 times 4 is going to give me 20. Carry the 2. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 2 is 7. So we make it back into a percentage, which goes 70%. The width of a rectangular room is 60% of its length. So width equals 60% of length. So width equals 60% times L. Now we need to find out what is the L. The length of the room is 10. L is 10. So now we're going to take our width and we're going to get 60 times L, which would be 60% times 10. Now remember, when we do our percentage, we need to move this over because, oops, not that over. So we're going to get rid of that percentage and we're going to move this over 2 times. So now we're going to do 6 times 10, which is going to give us and we're going to move this over 6. So our width is going to equal 6, which would make sense because that would be 50% of our length would be 5. So we're 60% would be 6 or 6/10. It's another way we could have done it. Okay, so now we have to find our area. So what is 6 times 10? Score, we're done. Woohoo! We're done with another week. You guys rock. Be good, have safe, stay safe, and be thinking about us. All right, guys, take care. Bye.